I'm 9, though sometimes I say 10 because it sounds tougher, and lately I want to sound tougher in every possible way. I don't know exactly when it started, but I've been paying attention to the kids everyone listens to, the ones who walk down the hallway like they already know the answers to things. They talk louder than they need to, push doors open with their shoulders, laugh when teachers get annoyed. I watch them and something in my chest buzzes, like maybe that's what being strong looks like, so I try to copy it. When someone bumps into me, I bump harder. When my mom asks me how school was, I shrug and say, fine, even if it wasn't. I used to hug her after school, but that feels like something little kids do, and I'm not a little kid anymore, or at least I don't want to look like one. I think being soft is dangerous, like walking around with your tummy exposed and people can just poke it and laugh. I decided a while ago that if I'm the one who pokes first, nobody can hurt me. It makes sense in my head. I like the way the older boys talk, how they never apologize for anything, and how they walk away before anyone can ask them a real question. I like pretending I don't care, even though I know I actually care about everything, but I hide it under layers of eye rolls and whatever. I talk back to teachers now. Not too much, but just enough so they know I'm not scared. I slam my locker a little harder than necessary. I call my friends dude even though it feels silly in my mouth. When someone drops their pencil, I don't pick it up like I used to. I don't want to look like the kind of boy who helps. Helping is what the shy kids do, the ones who can't play soccer without tripping over their own feet. I'm not shy. Or maybe I'm trying very, very hard not to be. Sometimes I catch myself doing something kind, like letting my little cousin sit on my lap during a movie, and the moment I notice, I stop because I don't want anyone to think I'm soft. Soft is the worst insult I can imagine, even worse than slow or weird. If someone calls you soft, it means they think you're easy to break. I want to be unbreakable, like the boys who never cry when they fall. I still cry, but now I do it in the shower, because the water makes it loud and fuzzy and maybe nobody will know. I think bad boys don't cry, or if they do it in cool ways that nobody can see. I want to be the kid everyone steps out of the way for, the one who gets to decide who sits where, who joins the game, who gets ignored. I really like the idea of deciding things. It makes me feel big, like I'm already halfway to being a grown-up. Grown-ups don't get bossed around. They do the bossing. My dad always says real men don't let anyone walk over them. And even though he doesn't mean it the way I hear it, I take it like a rule carved into stone. If someone makes fun of me, I make fun back twice as hard. If someone tries to be clever, I act like I knew the answer before they finished talking. I don't even know if I believe half the things I say, but sounding sure feels powerful. At home, Mom tells me to be kinder, to think about how other people feel, and I nod, but I don't want to hear it. When she's gentle with me, something inside me gets confused, like I'm supposed to choose between being cared for and being strong. I choose strong every time. I stomp around the house because it feels like footsteps of someone important. I roll my eyes at my grandparents even though I love them and hate myself a little after, but I'd rather feel that sting than feel small. I push my friends around as a joke, well, mostly as a joke, and they laugh. But there's a moment afterward when they look at me like they're not sure what I'll do next. I like that moment. It makes me feel tall. When someone tries to talk about feelings, I make fun of them. I say stuff like crybaby and man up, even though I don't even know what man up really means. I just know it makes people shut up, and silence feels like victory. I've started practicing faces in the mirror, the kind where you look bored or annoyed. If you look bored, people think nothing scares you. I like pretending that nothing scares me, even though I'm scared of a lot of things. Being alone in the dark, losing my parents, messing up in front of the class, but I hide all of that behind this mask I'm building piece by piece, like armor. I imagine my future a lot. I imagine walking into places and everyone noticing, everyone giving me space. I imagine not needing anyone to like me because they'll respect me instead. Respect seems better than love. Love can hurt, but respect looks solid, like concrete. When I grow up, I'm going to be the kind of man who doesn't say sorry, the kind who doesn't chase people, the kind who doesn't need friends to feel okay. I'll wear black, probably. I'll have that slow walk like I own the ground. People will be nervous around me, but in a good way, like they know I could be dangerous if I wanted to. I think that's what strength is, everyone knowing you don't need them. I'll be the guy nobody argues with, nobody laughs at, nobody forgets. I don't know exactly what job I'll have. Maybe something cool like a stuntman or a detective or someone who drives fast cars, but whatever it is, people will talk about me in low voices like I'm someone they shouldn't cross. I like that idea more than any other. Mom says real strength is being kind, but that sounds backwards to me. Kind kids get picked last, kind kids get pushed, kind kids sit alone on the swings. I won't be that. Not ever. I won't be the kid who holds doors. I won't be the boy who blushes. I won't be the man who asks twice. I'll be strong. I'll be the one they don't mess with. And when I picture grown-up me, he never sits alone, because people always come to him first. They choose him because he's unshakable. I don't realize it yet, but I think part of me wants someone to look at me and think he's worth staying for. But instead, I keep building this version of myself who doesn't need anyone to stay. I keep thinking that if I act strong enough, loud enough, sharp enough, nobody will ever see the scared parts. And then maybe the scared parts will go away. When I grow up, I'll be the kind of person everyone knows not to mess with. I'll be cool. I'll be untouchable. And nobody, absolutely nobody, will ever call me soft again.
It's strange, looking back at the boy I used to be, the one who thought being feared was the same thing as being seen. I can still feel that sharp little pride in my chest, the one that flared whenever someone stepped aside to let me pass or hesitated before disagreeing with me. At the time, it felt like proof that I was doing life the right way, that the armor I'd been building since childhood was finally working. I didn't notice how heavy it was getting. I didn't notice how people stopped talking freely around me, how conversation shortened, how laughter drifted toward other tables. I told myself I preferred quiet anyway. I told myself I didn't need anyone. I said that line so many times it turned into a habit, and then into a belief, and eventually into the only truth I had left. The first real choice that nudged me onto this path was small, as most beginnings are. I snapped at a friend who'd teased me gently, a friend who'd known me since we were kids. I watched him pull back like he'd touched something hot without meaning to, and I told myself, good, now he knows I'm not someone to joke with. I didn't realize then that jokes are how people show they trust you. That moment stuck, though I pretended it didn't. Then came others. Dates where I acted too detached. Jobs where I rolled my eyes at feedback. Chances to open up that I shut down before they could touch me. Every time someone leaned in, I leaned out. It became a reflex, like flinching before the hit, except the hit wasn't coming from anyone but me. I convinced myself I was choosing strength, when really I was choosing distance. And distance, when practiced long enough, stops being a choice and becomes the shape of your whole life. I used to walk into rooms with that same boyish desire to be noticed, but somewhere along the line people stopped looking at me with anything but caution. Not respect, just caution, like I was a storm cloud that might break open if they said the wrong thing. It wasn't what I wanted, but I told myself it was close enough. I got good at justifying things. I told myself relationships were too dramatic, friendships too demanding, vulnerability too risky. I filled my days with work and routines, things I could control. My reputation hardened around me like cement, difficult, cold, the guy who keeps to himself. I wore those words like medals, not knowing they were warnings. The compromises were small at first. Turning down dinner invitations because I didn't feel like it. Ignoring texts because I didn't want anyone thinking they could rely on me. Shutting down conversations before they could reach anything real. I didn't see what I was losing. I didn't see how each tiny decision chipped away at the possibility of warmth in my life. People stopped calling gradually. First the ones I barely knew, then the ones I knew well, then the ones who had loved me enough to try. I always assumed they'd come back. They didn't. And because I'd built my whole identity around not needing anyone, I couldn't admit how much it stung. I pretended it didn't. I got so good at pretending I almost believed myself. There were relationships I ruined because silence was easier than apology. People I cared about who drifted away because I never said the things I felt, not even once. I thought feelings made me weak. I didn't understand that withholding them does too, just in a lonelier way. Work filled the space where people used to be. I stayed late, I volunteered for extra shifts, I kept myself busy enough to avoid the echo that waited for me at home. For years I called that discipline. Now I know it was fear wearing a responsible man's coat. When I finally slowed down, when age forced a kind of stillness on me, it became clear how much space there was in my life. Too much space. The kind that doesn't feel like freedom, but like a quiet you can't fill. I sit in it now. Mornings stretch long and pale. Sometimes I make coffee and catch myself imagining telling someone how it tastes, but the kitchen stays quiet. I walk through rooms that have only one toothbrush, one jacket on the hook, one cup left to wash. I never imagined growing old like this. When I was young, I pictured myself as this cool, solitary man who chose aloneness because he was too strong, too interesting, too complicated to need company. I didn't realize that loneliness and aloneness aren't the same thing, and I'd spent my whole life mixing them up. I don't blame anyone who left. Truth is, I left first. I withdrew in small, subtle ways until there was nothing left to walk toward. Kindness always felt like a language I should have learned young, but kept putting off. I used to think people drifted away because they couldn't handle me. Now I think maybe they drifted because I never offered them a place to stay. There are moments I replay more often than I admit. A woman waiting for me to say something tender and hearing nothing. A friend standing on my porch after we argued, giving me one last chance to soften. My mother squeezing my hand at the end of her life, hoping for a gentleness I didn't know how to show. I wasn't a monster. I didn't yell or break things or destroy anyone. But I kept myself sealed. And sealed things don't breathe. Sealed things don't let others breathe around them. I regret the people I pushed away more than the ones who pushed me. I regret the easy chances to be better. The text I could have sent, the apology I could have made, the soft answer I could have given instead of the sharp one. None of it required strength. It required the one thing I'd spent my whole life avoiding, being open. Now I'm old, and the world has gotten quieter. The phone rarely rings. When it does, it's a wrong number, or someone checking if I still live here. I sit by the window sometimes and watch neighbors laugh as they unload groceries. They look so at ease with each other, so unguarded. I used to think that kind of softness was weakness. Now it looks like something I never learned how to earn. I'm not broken, I'm not tragic. I just see things clearly now, maybe too late to change them. There's no villain in this story, not even me. Just a boy who thought toughness would keep him safe. And a man who carried that belief long after it stopped being useful. If I could speak to that boy, I wouldn't scold him. I'd just sit beside him and tell him he doesn't have to pick between strength and kindness. But I know he wouldn't believe me. He'd roll his eyes and walk away, trying to look taller than he feels. Maybe that's the part that hurts quietly, knowing I became exactly what I practiced being, without stopping to wonder if it was what I actually wanted. I thought being feared would keep me from being hurt. It didn't. It just kept me from being known. And now, in this small, quiet life, I realize people weren't avoiding me because I was strong. They were avoiding me because I never let them in. I don't know if that's something you can fix at this age. Maybe you can. Maybe you can't. But if you're listening, and if you're still young enough to choose differently, just remember this. Walls don't keep loneliness out. They keep everything out. I'm not telling you what to do, I'm just telling you where my choices led. The rest is yours. Sometimes I sit here and think about all the versions of me I could have been, the softer ones I kept pushing away, and I wonder how different my days might look if I hadn't tried so hard to seem unshakable. But wondering is all that's left now. If you're somewhere earlier on the road than I am, maybe you'll make a different turn when the moment comes. I won't tell you which one. I only know the one I chose and where it led, and that's all a person can really offer at the end.